you get really creative with it, whether it's signage as far as like what's going on in your facility, promotions, birthday parties, events that are coming up.
Hi, I'm Russ, and this is the Memory Makers Podcast, the show that helps you create amazing customer experiences and make more memories. So today, gang, I'm excited because we are getting joined by a person who's not only been in the front lines and the trenches of our business and dealing with managing staff and multiple locations and dealing with guests and all of the fun things, but she is now with DFX and focusing on creating outstanding environments for venues. And so we're going to nerd out with Danielle Hardin. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us, and excited to dive in with you today.
Yeah, super excited. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I was doing some LinkedIn sleuthing just to make sure that I was up to speed on your bona fides. So you started out as a manager for a trampoline park, but then that evolved and now you find yourself at DFX helping with the marketing and all of the groovy stuff that they're doing there. Walk me through how we got to that point.
Oh my gosh. I got in the industry at 19 years old. I had a job and I was so miserable. I was like a manager at a house cleaning company. I was like, okay, got to do something else. And I saw Jump Street was hiring and they needed a park supervisor. I was like, I can do that. No problem. Well, because I was transitioning from the cleaning job Monday through Friday, I had to do training on the weekends. And we all know you do not start on the weekends. So the first day I go in, it was a Saturday. And it was so busy. You've got the party host walking around with cake knives. So I was like, that's not safe. Well, you've got like kids jumping on the trampolines, and it was just absolute chaos. So I went home and I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, no, give it another day. And I went back the next day and I fell in love with it. So I actually started as a park supervisor, opening and closing the location. And my manager was like, you're doing a phenomenal job. They've got a manager position at another location. Go take it, go do your thing. So hopped on over, and then I was managing my own park. I had a great team behind me. It was so cool. But then my time kind of ran out in North Carolina. I needed to move to Texas for personal reasons. And I found a company called Cheeky Monkeys. And so instead of managing, like 13-year-olds and above trampoline park kids, it was more like toddlers and like 8 and under kids. So it was a totally different universe going from the trampoline park scene to the soft play industry. And I made my way up there as well. I started as a one location manager, and they quickly evolved into, they have over 10 locations now. So I was helping them as their area manager at Cheeky Monkeys.
Dope. Okay. And then after Cheeky Monkeys, what was next on your FEC crazy niche industry journey?
Yes. So we actually used Party Center software at the time. We used Party Center software at Jump Street as well. So I was really familiar with the platform, and they sent out an email saying, hey, we're hiring. And I was like, I want to do that. Sign me up. Like, I'm all for it. Like, get me out of the industry as far as like in the thick of it and put me on the other side so I can help people with what I've learned and the skills I've taken from it and help them with the software because I use it. I know how to use it. And I can teach them how to use it even better than probably what they're doing now. Right. So then I went to PCS, and then now, like you said, I'm over here at DFX. I'm helping them with the marketing thing.
I love it.
So yeah.
I love it. Well, so let's start getting into some of the, the ambiance, as we like to say when I'm trying to sound super French and impressive to my wife and she rolls her eyes at me. When you walk into an entertainment venue today, what are you noticing maybe that the average, guest would not, right? What are some of those things as just what's the tone, what's the feel, what's the vibe? What are those kinds of things that you as a person who sees the matrix now from operations and then really looking at the impact of an environment, what jumps out at you when you first walk into venues?
Oh man. So the one thing I can think of off the top of my head is the signage in the facility. Is it something that was printed from their computer in the office? Was it something handwritten and stuck on the wall with tape? Or was it professionally designed, branded, or even, the digital signage as well? What that looks like. So, handwritten signs and paper signs taped to the wall, they can take away from the experience almost immediately.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like in today's world, and some folks, I hear your pitchforks coming out before I even say it, but like using some basic free AI to get away from that and be able to put it on a TV and just have it a little bit more clean and polished instead of looking like, oh, I grabbed a blank sheet of paper out of the copier and Sharpied this, kind of a thing. So,
Exactly. Oh,
yeah.
eyesore.
Yeah. And then the other half of folks are like, no, we're doing that already. You're late to the game. So somewhere in there is right where I like to be, is right down happy middle of the lane. So, but it's those little things I think can certainly jump out. And I think, so my literally this weekend went bowling at a place called Pinheads with my wife and our son. And when I walked in, it was fun because when I'm with my family, I tend to be more of what I call like a pseudo civilian when I'm in entertainment venues, because I try to take off my, industry hat a little bit and be a little more present with them. And, it's like, what's the music? What's the tone? What's the lighting? What's that aesthetic that what are we highlighting that's really cool about our design? And it really gives you a sense. I feel like that's one of the reasons why Starbucks blew up, right? It wasn't because they had the absolute best cup of coffee, but they were creating a mood and an environment that felt like a natural extension or a place that people wanted to be at or be seen being at. And I feel like that's the tone and the personality and the pizzazz that comes with what our venues are needs to be kind of created through those environments. And you guys do a ton of that, obviously, in there. But I'm curious as to, is there something that you guys look for where, hey, yes, you have attractions, but is it an experience? And how do you start to make that more of an experience? And I think with all the groovy stuff that you do at bowling is something that kind of comes to mind right off the top of the list. But you guys get to make a lot of magic and create the personality of the venue through these systems.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you walk in and everything is vibing, you just know like the music sets the tone, you're in the mood, you got the right volume going, you're greeted by the staff at the door. That's where you want to keep going back to. And then just the visuals, like I said, is the lighting levels, the correct levels. Do they have different color lightings, not just the architectural lighting? So as you move through the venue, it feels more intentional rather than, chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are there some examples or locations that just kind of come to mind maybe for you where you've seen the environment surrounding the attraction directly contributes to the performance of that attraction? So, hey, are people spending more time at this venue? Like the average reservation length on the lanes is longer, or they're playing more games of laser tag, because you guys do stuff across all sorts of attractions. But are there some of those examples that you see like, hey, we're going to invest in part of make this being part of the experience, and after we've done that, we've seen performance go up?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a place in New Jersey. It's called the Funplex. They have two locations. Not sure if you're familiar with them,
Yeah.
but they just upgraded their bowling. So they added LED screens instead of the projectors that they had. So now they can showcase the games better and, music videos. Their lighting is now connected and it's showcasing everything all together. So it's just kind of working in this really cool ecosystem, and their dwell time at the bowling has increased because maybe the game's not over as far as like a football game or a basketball game, and they're like, hey, let's extend our time so we can finish this out, and the kids are entertained while I can watch my football game.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. And I feel like it's that, as well as even areas in between the attractions, or as you're transitioning to the bar and all of those kinds of I feel like lighting and sound across our venues is something that gets really kind of underrated, where, hey, we actually need this to feel a little bit more intense while they're watching the game or doing the music video, but like we're not going to light the bowling alley the same way that we're lighting the arcade, the same way that we're lighting the bar. So are there thoughts or philosophies that you guys try to take on in, what it takes to actually distinguish those areas from themselves?
Yeah, so like you said, everything should be operating together, but you don't want the same volume. Like, say you're playing a football game, you don't want that to be on every single speaker that you have in that facility, right? So when you're in the design process, you want to make sure you map out, where these speakers should go, where these lights should go, and to where it's not so loud, you have to crank it up because that's not
Mm,
always the answer. You have speakers placed appropriately for the right sound level. So
yeah.
definitely we can help with that during the design process. So yeah.
I love that. Well, and like, hey, this is where your point of sale counter is going to be. So maybe we don't have the thump thump music hitting quite as loud there. So that way they can hear each other. I mean, it's just that those little things that you almost take for granted unless you're designing or in the process or have a venue. Like if it's your first time to the party, you're not necessarily thinking about those things because when they're done well, it's kind of second nature. It feels intuitive and natural, to where your attention isn't drawn to it in a negative way, I guess.
100%. And like your arcade is already so loud, you've got a lot going on. Why do you want your sound competing from speakers versus the arcade games?
You're
There's
right.
some places it's just like let it be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and just finding that nice balance for sure. When you had mentioned videos on the masking units for the bowling alley, and like to your point, I've seen, hey, we're gonna put on the UFC fight, or we're gonna put on the football game, or we're gonna have music videos. Like, do you guys have some recommendations as far as like, hey, this is content that works really well for these types of groups? Like, hey, if you're targeting the dads or the league bowling, sure, you can have some of like this kind of stuff on there, but are there people that have chosen funky or weird things to put on those TVs that kind of jump out at you as like, I wouldn't have necessarily chosen that for me, but it worked out?
Yeah, I think watch parties right now are all the rave, right?
Mm,
So I don't know if you watch Love Island. I personally do not, but I can see everything. Like these people are doing Love Island watch parties, and they're doing it at bowling centers on the bowling screens, and it's just
okay.
like to me that's a little crazy, but it's fun, right? So I
Yeah.
wouldn't personally show that, but you get really creative with it, whether it's signage as far as like what's going on in your facility, promotions, birthday parties, events that are coming up, limited time offers on your food menus, or
Mm,
full on like I'm going to sell tickets to this thing and we're going to have a major watch party for
I
Love
love
Island.
it. Okay. Yeah, no, I can't say that I dabble in that show. Yeah, I don't. I'm not even going to ask where it is because and then all of a sudden I'm going to have that just in my algorithm. But yeah, that's wild. I love the fact that you can use it for that, and definitely not something I would have had on my bingo card. Hey, we've got this. Let's do it. We've got good food. We've got some cocktails. We've got comfy furniture and a big screen to be able to do that on.
Exactly. It's
That's
really cool. And
cool.
I mean, you can, some people create their own content too, and we'll let them show out as long as they know how to, do graphic design. So it's not
Sure.
blurry when it goes up there with that large of a screen. But some people do get creative and make their own creatives as well. Send it to us and
Nice.
we'll, resize it and then help them get it up there.
Dope. So when we look at, okay, we're intelligently creating these different tones and feels depending on what the space is, but when you see something where it all feels truly integrated, throughout the environment and the vibe, what does that do for the guests when they're in there?
You think it makes them feel something like you're excited, you're pumped, you're ready to go. I've got a customer, like I said, the Funplex. They do this. It's called the Funplex After Dark,
Okay.
and they do a 21 and up event. And it's like as soon as you walk in the door, it should feel like a nightclub, not like you're going into a kids' fun center, right? And
Right.
not so much a nightclub, but you get the vibe, you get the music, and the lights are going, and you've got adults in there, and it's just increasing. Their Instagram, they've got so many followers on that account. They're doing a really great job with that. So it's not only helping them social media wise, help them with dwell time, and just getting the word out there that they do these events and you can come and hang out and, feel like, hey, this is my scene. This is what I want to do.
I love that. When you're balancing, how do you balance creating something impressive with creating something that the staff can actually operate? Because that's kind of this next thing of, hey, it's great that we have all these things that can do it, but ultimately, if it's not an intuitive and simple system where we can kind of, I hate to say plug and play, but how do I get a 17-year-old up to snuff quickly on, being able to use an expensive but impactful system? What is that? How do you guys navigate those challenges?
Yeah, so we put the complexity in the programming, not in the physical like touch panels, right? So we're designing these things in mind that you're going to have 16-year-old employees, and in some cases 15-year-old employees that need to operate and use this, and it needs to be easy to coach them, train them on. It's supposed to save you time on training, time on opening and closing. So everything is very user friendly when we're designing these, so that way you
Mm,
can train your staff.
I love it. And you guys will even have that of, like you said, put it into the programming. So that way it's, hey, this is our quick preset when we're, at opening. And then this is our midday scene, which will automatically change the lighting levels and the volume intensity and the bass and different elements like that then.
Correct. Yeah. So the control panel, you can have what are called hotkeys. Like say it's a birthday party, you push birthday party mode and the birthday song comes on, right? So those can be like hotkeys when you need them, as you need them. But your presets more like you said, like daytime or nighttime. Your daytime is I'm coming in, the TVs are going to come on, the sound is going to come on, and the lights are going to come on in every area of the building. I don't have to go around and manually flip up those light switches, right? Or manually turn on those TVs and put the right channel on. You can source channels from the tablet, all kinds of stuff. It's crazy.
Right on. Well, and that I feel like we always talk about, don't buy a Ferrari and just deliver pizzas with it. But at the same time, if that Ferrari can help you, kind of autopilot your way there too, and you're not having to reinvent the wheel or have 16 pages of documentation on how to change a party room over to a new look, like that's awesome.
Yeah, you would think that. So I worked at a brewery in Dallas, and you think changing the TV would be like very simple, very easy. Well, they had 4 TVs.
Mind. It blows my mind that that's still a thing, like that people like have to fiddle with.
Yeah, not only that, connect to the audio. So like you had to go and turn the volume all the way up on each of the TVs, and if they were close enough to the TV, they'd be able to hear it versus what's going over the loudspeaker.
Yeah,
just think of things like that.
Yeah. Well, and it's so, I laugh from, there's part of this like curmudgeony old thing where I'm like, golly, there's got to be a better way to do it. And then I'm like, oh, there are better ways to do that. And at the same time, I'm like, it's 2026. How are we not getting to a point where this is done? More so because I feel bad for the poor person who's trying to just like do that, right? And get the game changed and get the sound working and everything else. Cause like that shouldn't be a tasking task. That should be a quick, easy thing. And this poor person is having to now struggle navigating these waters just to change the game over. So
digging in the remote bucket and everything. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Oh my gosh. Well, and so I can imagine just like productivity and other things being, it's definitely saves a lot of headaches and just in the day-to-day operational side of things. When a guest walks out of an entertainment venue and says that place was awesome, what do you think that they were responding to most in that?
I think they're responding to everything. The way that when they walked through the door, everything just worked. The lighting, like I said, the sound was on point. The friendly the friendly employees that were there introducing them, hey, come over here, we'll get you started, how to go through the facility, how to navigate it, and just being immersed in this full-on experience. So I think it's a whole thing. It's not just one thing, right? Mm-hmm. There's things that add up. But definitely the lighting, the sound, what you've got going on in the facility, your attractions, it's just a whole mix of everything.
I love it. Any favorite kind of customer wins or things like that kind of come to mind as just, because I always try to remind myself of that we got to be a part of this and this was really impactful just because of what they're doing for the community or things like that. But any kind of Mount Rushmore favorite impact stories that you were able to have?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a customer out in Huntsville, Alabama. It's called Field Day. And he added 2 outdoor LED screens for like viewing, obviously for sports. He went in doing like, I'm going to do sports, I'm going to show that, and whatever else up there. Well, he slowly added like movie nights. And then he slowly added those watch parties. And he's actually the one I was talking about where he added the Love Island watch parties. They were going to do like a Hannah Montana thing when that came out, but he's gotten very creative. He's really good on social media marketing these things. He actually was talking to a DFX employee the other day, and he says, hey, I just want to let you know those screens out there made me a ton of money during FIFA. Like I was packed to the brim and we were like rolling with it. So that he's even adding a 3rd screen inside.
That's
so it's
crazy.
Really cool.
Yeah. Well, and that's the big thing is is it actually moving the needle? And in so many cases to be able to see like, yes, like the before versus the after, this is all working towards the good, which is always very fulfilling, I think. I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, groovy. Danielle, thank you so much for the time and the insights. I always love the chance to get to nerd out with you, and we got to hang out at Foundations a few weeks back. And golly, we're gonna be into the fall craziness of shows here before we even know it again. So
it's going to be back to back. Yeah. Ooh. I mean, we've got another Foundations coming up. You guys have,
360 coming up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
IAPA.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're going to be up to our eyeballs, but darn lucky to do it. So, well, thank you so much for joining us and appreciate your insights on this. And for all of you watching, thank you for checking in. If you like what you heard, we'd always love a 5-star review, please and thank you, if we've earned it. If you have ideas that you want to do for content, or you want to hear someone or a specific topic, hit us up on social media. We'll make sure to get that into the rotation for you. And big shout out to Mikey Mike working the 1s and 2s on the Ultranet for us. And we will catch you on the next one, Troublemakers.